using this thing called StreamYard,
Sure.
and then
Yeah, it's my first time to use this actually.
yeah, it's okay. I just want to make sure the one of my things is I want to have this whole thing recorded, and it's a bit you have to pay. I think it's quite hefty, like $20 a month or something, and then there's so many ways around it. All if I just want to have it recorded, yeah, it's working. All
Okay.
right. Okay, so how are you, Bai?
I what I answer usually to that is like I'm okay today. Today I'm okay. And yeah. So I think that's good.
Yeah, I've been what I've been doing is like I've been legitimately asking people. So like normally, pre COVID, how are you? That's all right, and that. But like now it's like a genuine
Yeah.
question sometimes. Not
Yeah, like
everybody is like well.
yeah. So it's
If
like
you
how
you
are
know.
you really? You know?
Yeah, yeah. So it's difficult times.
Sure.
Bye. Just maybe to start, maybe we could have a quick like introduction. Just introduce yourself. So I'm, people who are just tuning in. So my name's Carlo. I run 032. Ikaw.
Yeah. Me, I'm Albert. I run a company called Symph. So it's a software company. So I'm like an IT, I'm a tech guy, basically. I'm the guy who you think can solve your printer problems, but not really. Or if
I
you
used to do
forget
that.
your Google password, or if you want to hack somebody's Facebook, you think of me. But I can't do that.
Well, I used to have a grandma. And yeah, she would call me up every time to fix her printer. Mga once a week.
Yeah.
Once a week. And then
We
I'm
try
not,
our best.
it was genuinely frustrating.
Turn off the printer, turn it on again, unplug it, plug it. Oh, it works now. Yay!
More like obviously, I want to talk about the rice movement and how people can help. But
Yeah.
I thought one way to start this
Okay.
this discussion would be a quick description of where we are now. How would you describe our current situation?
What do you mean? Like whose current situation?
And some I notice like people have different answers to that sometimes, and I'm kind of curious where your head is at in terms of uh like for me obviously this sucks, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so many ways to look at this whole pandemic, and
Yeah.
I have just been uh I have just used it as an excuse to really just reflect, learn new things,
Yeah.
and then so people have approached it in many different ways ba.
Yeah. So
So for example, oh yeah,
me it's like I think me and my family were like personally affected, right? Because I don't know. I think it's pretty public now. My dad died of COVID, coronavirus. Um, I would say fast rewind. How do you say fast forward? Fast rewind, like rewind back to like maybe 2 months ago, when it was still like happening around the Southeast Asia region, sort of in the Philippines, but not really. People started wearing masks. People started buying alcohol and stuff like that. I kind of like, to be honest, like sort of, I knew it was coming, but I didn't really think that it was gonna be like the statistics were gonna hit us. Like at least me as a my family personally. I thought it would be like, we're all gonna get it, and then we're gonna recover, right? And then some other people are the ones who you hear in the news, who don't make it or stuff like that. But then I didn't expect like my dad to be like the first guy who gets, who doesn't recover at all, here in Cebu City. Here I think in Cebu, and so it's like, it's really weird because statistically speaking, you think of him like as a high chance of survival, or even like the chance of him getting it was pretty low. Like of all travelers, like scheduled, like it's kind of like, it hits you and then you think like, oh, why me? And so to, to give you like a context, it's very personal. like what's happened. The pandemic is not like a statistic that I will look back in history about like how we got quarantined, but it's more of like it's a memorial time of like, time of remembering like how my dad or her family got hit by it. So I guess I would put myself in the extreme part of like the people who like take it very very seriously. Like my actually even in my family, like my sister's a doctor and she makes fun of me sometimes. My mom's a nurse. They make fun of me because I'm like the most paranoid in the family. All right, like making sure everybody's washing hands. If we have deliveries, like we sanitize everything. Like yeah, like I ask people to take a bath all the time when they went outside and they come back in. Like we make sure that we treat the clothes that they wear. They go straight to the bathroom. They take a shower, and so on. So even with like the rice movement deliveries, right? Like we have like social distancing protocols in place. We make sure that people are the delivery people, the drivers don't get out of the vehicles. Like the people who are receiving it just pick up the rice from the back of the truck and we don't interact with them. No photo, like we do the photos but from inside the car and so on. So yeah, going back to the question of like where I think we're at, I think to be honest, from that perspective, extreme perspective, is I feel like we're we're dealing with something that's very new to our generation, right? And so if we're not so
Sorry,
sure
so
how
you cut off a little bit. You feel like
we're very
sorry, you cut
new.
off a little bit. You feel like
Yeah,
mhm.
I feel like we're very new to dealing with this kind of situation. So we don't really have a way of looking back and saying this is how we deal with it. And so a lot of things right now are just experiments. And looking at it, I feel like we are. This is like the beginning part. I feel like we're still in the beginning part of this sort of crisis worldwide. And so like you hear of China reopening and then sort of closing some other areas again. Like I feel like we're still very early or towards the beginning part of this whole crisis as the world tries to figure out how to work through this crisis. I don't like it, but that's honestly my view on it.
Yeah, I read that on your Facebook buying your dad passed away, and then I was really sorry to hear that. And
Thanks, man.
it's it's it, you were talking a while ago about like statistically that sort of thing, and I fall to that trap all the time. Like, you know, I keep thinking I'm like, oh, yeah, 1 in 100 chance. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's that basically means, but that basically means it's not going to happen. But the truth is, you know, uh, a million people. That's I know you're better at math than I am. 1,000.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like
Actually,
that's
so I think that the initial death thing was like 2%, and I have a team of about 40 people. So I told them like if we are 50 in population, right, and we get it, like one of us is gonna die. So that's kind of like the way I try to paint it. It's very morbid to be honest, but when you have your dad die of it, like it becomes very serious like quickly. Like it's not something that can happen to other people. It's definitely something that can happen or has happened to us.
if you don't mind me asking, by so what was he? Was he like traveling, or because
Yeah,
he was like the first?
he was pretty. He traveled for business, so he was in Luzon and in Mindanao for the past 3 weeks before he got hospitalized. For yeah, he even attended like like a wake for my lolo, my grandfather, his cousin, I think, or no, his uncle. Um, and then that's also in Mindanao. So when he came back, he was already pretty bad.
Yeah, and then I think you mentioned said buying. Yeah, we are. You're definitely right that we are in the beginning of this. Like I only realized it. I think they did the lockdown like beginning of April, and like a week or two later, that's when I realized, nga, oh wait, kadang it just started to hit me. But once you learn a little bit more, nga murag, this is gonna be a long grind. Um,
Yeah,
because yeah, like I was listening. I mentioned this before. I was listening to a podcast, and then they mentioned that it takes like a year at least if everything goes well. It takes a year for a vaccine, and you
And then you're
know,
talking about distribution, and then you have like, like sometimes like not all, it's not guaranteed like the vaccine will actually like be that effective, but so there might be like other, stuff that it's like the best case scenario. It's like your best estimate. Like we make software, right? Like best estimates are like always wrong. So this is like when people say like, oh, it's gonna take a year, like, dude, we've never made a vaccine that fast. That's like your very optimistic, very best estimate. So sure, let's aim for that. But realistically speaking, that's a dream.
that's why I've been talking to people, about this bike. It's it's literally new territory, ba. We don't know what's going to happen, and I'm just kind of curious to see where people are at in terms of what they're thinking about, about the future, about how their day to day is right now, or even like, how what they plan to do. Okay, me, like, I'm in that boat. Like, I am wide open right now. Like, I can do whatever, and then and mona siya, no? And that's why it's really interesting for me to talk to you also, okay, about the rice movement, because a few days ago I was talking to my cousin, and it was meant to be kind of like a fun discussion. We streamed it on Facebook, murag, doomsday scenarios,
Yeah.
like the worst things that can happen to society, that sort of thing. And so my cousin's in the food business, so he was very food centric in terms of talking about it. And one of his main concerns really was like, how are people going to eat? If they're losing all their jobs,
Yeah.
you guys pointed out in your website, there's like a million jobs lost.
Yeah.
Uh, no, by the time, by the time another month passes, who knows? Because he was talking about restaurants, and how restaurants are going to have a hard time in the future,
Yeah.
and how many people are employed in restaurants previously, 'di ba? So all of those people all of a sudden maglisod na.
Yeah.
And he was saying, so once you have this big chunk of people who all of a sudden have no jobs, have no way to essentially feed themselves, what's going to happen? So we riffed about that a little bit, and then we ended up saying, well, in the end, then I thought of you guys, and I thought, well, there's a lot of people who will be generous and kanang, because I mean, let's admit it, it's probably difficult to uh, rely on government alone to do all of these things. So that's why I thought this was
Yeah.
important to, share about the rice movement and how important it is to, in effect, like, feed people.
Yeah.
Is that?
It's okay. Like, so maybe I'll take a step back, like
Mm,
how we came up with this thing, right? So first we were thinking when COVID hit, we got involved in the whole helping of the frontliners, providing PPEs, tracking, which hospitals don't have PPEs yet, so they can be prioritized and so on. We put together a platform to help do that. So then after about like 2 weeks of doing this, we realized like basically the whole world has supported frontliners, and which is really good. But it felt like maybe let's take a step back and let's look what else is being missed. Like, right, all the attention is going here. What are we missing that's also equally critical or something? And then so we asked, okay, what will help us get through this quarantine? What will help us finish this quarantine? And really the main variable of like the killing this virus or destroying it, not destroying, but letting this virus die in our social community is really the one of the variables there is how people are staying away from each other, right? Because if you can't pass it on, the virus eventually dies. So it's more of like, like it has a lifespan, and if it's not able to infect another person, then it will just die. And when it dies without being able to pass on to something else, like another host, then it just that's it. It's the end, and it will eventually die. So that the reason why we're doing the quarantine thing, one of the reasons, aside to flatten the curve and spread it out, but it's basically to why don't we just like stay away from each other, practice social distancing, lock down like areas that are infected, and so that we wait it out, given a month or something. If the virus is not able to spread, then it eventually dies out, and then we can reopen again as a community. So that's like the idea of like quarantine. But then realistically speaking, like some people can do that. Some people can stay in at home and stay put, but not a lot of people can do that. So realistically speaking, a lot of people like live hand to mouth, right? Paycheck to paycheck. And you're even talking about weekly paychecks to paychecks, right? So these are like your average workers. And when I say average, these are the majority of workers. And these are your servers, your waiters, your security guards, your massage therapists, your like basically like everybody that serves the community. And the jeepney drivers, I mean, I could go on and on. And then suddenly, boom, they've been told, hey guys, there's something more important. The virus, everybody has to stay home. And it's true. I guess they want to do their part, but it's very hard, right? Like, there's just no food at home. What will I do? Like, this doesn't make sense. To them, it doesn't make sense because they have a more pressing need. The virus is some unknown somewhere, but hunger is very visible right now. They're crying baby, their angry wife, their kids crying. Like it's just or them mismo like their stomach growling. Like it's like it is very real situation for very many people. And so we said, okay, how can we help support these people to stay home? Because if they don't stay home, we don't get out longer. I mean, we don't get to go out sooner, right? It will prolong the whole community, right? Like that's why you have in social media, like people start bashing people who are not practicing distancing because it's like we all know that if they don't have the discipline, then we don't get to go out together, you know. It delays the timeline per se. So we need to do something about it. So we said, okay, what can we do to help people stay home? And so we said, okay, why don't we do relief goods? So yeah, we got excited about that. We said, okay, where will we buy? So we were imagining already, like, how will we buy? Trying to piece the logistics together. We will buy rice, we'll buy like canned goods, noodles, and then we were hit with the obvious, right? How do we repack these things? It's like we'll buy from one place and then we'll repack it, but we can't like meet. We can't like So we were coming up with like crazy ideas, like okay, we'll deliver some of the goods in this house, some other house for this other goods, and then somebody will like pick it all up and some like and it was ridiculous. So my sister came up with the idea, and she was like, hey, why don't we like just give them rice, and then like not like a plastic of rice, like a sack of rice. So Filipinos, as long as na rice, like buhi na, right? I mean, it sucks just to have rice, but if nanay rice, mabuhi na. Like you
The
won't go
the
hungry.
the goal is to live right now.
Yeah, just goes basta importante. We even say like ang importante buhi. You know, it may suck, but rice. If na rice buhi, Filipino buhi. And so and then she said, okay, and why don't we call it like the rice movement? And so that's when we had like the hashtag together we will rise,
Hmm.
and so that's sort of like we got excited about that, and then friends, co-workers, we mobilized, and that's basically how it started.
Yeah, but I think also moving forward, it's really important because there will be a huge sector of society that will be unemployed, having a hard time to feed themselves, and through no fault of their own. It's just that
Yeah,
the jobs that they had prior are just no longer available, and same
yeah.
thing. You
i
even
I hate to say the obvious, man, but this is like a stopgap. This is even just like a drop in the bucket, dude. Like what we're doing right now, I try to think of like we're helping people, right? But really the need is so big, like so many people are affected. We like if you think about statistic, 1 million people lost jobs. Even let's just say half of those don't have savings. That's 500,000 families right there, right? How many have we helped? I think around 300. I'm not so sure, but around one to almost 2,000 individuals for a month. and this is still gonna keep
Mm.
going. And then, so that's the huge number of people. So the way I try to think of it, to stay, without being overwhelmed, is just say like, okay, we've helped at least these people. The other people, it sucks, but these people, at least we made a difference here. And but if you really want to look at the whole situation, we need something else. We need something else, like as a society, a government level thing. Like, we need to our current models of organization in government and the way we're mobilizing things, our private sector and the way the economy works, we're not prepared for this thing. Like, it's not designed. The way we structure society is not designed to survive something like this, right? Like,
Yeah,
everything we're
we
doing,
can't
like
just
the
shut down.
yeah, we can't shut down because we are always living in, like, the moment, like paycheck to paycheck. And so if you cut that off suddenly, like, what now? Like, people are gonna go hungry, and then, like, this is bad. It's just bad.
No, I agree with you, Bai. So like so there's comments here on the on I can see like comments on the thing, and then there's like a lot of people just like, you know, right now. I mean, I'm not
Oh
going to
wow,
like,
I didn't even know that this comment section existed. All right, I just clicked it.
yeah. So there's, a lot of people asking for help, and I know
Yeah,
you guys have been receiving so many messages also of people just asking for essentially food at this point,
yeah.
diba?
I
And
think one of the thoughts that I'm trying to think by is because honestly, like, helping is good, and we are doing everything that we can, and I'm sure like donors are giving, but and we'll continue to give as long as there is, but this is not sustainable. Like, this is this is not something we can keep doing, not because we don't want to, but because we need to figure out a way to get the economy or society helping each other, like contributing to making sure that everybody is able to get food on their table and contributing in some way in this kind of scenario where we have lockdown, or when we have like um general community quarantine, or even when we go back to the world and it's already open. But the reality is, it has already wiped out like a million jobs, and those jobs are not like suddenly gonna come back, right? Like, I think we have to realize that the jobs that have been lost, the restaurants that have closed down, when the quarantine ends, it's not suddenly gonna be like magic, like, okay, back and reopen. Like, dude, the restaurant went bankrupt. Like, the business went bankrupt. It's not like suddenly they can bootstrap their operations. People have lost their savings. It's not like suddenly they want to go and shop, right? Like, this is really bad in the sense that we have hit it's not like we're on pause. The economy is not on pause. The economy has been destroyed. And I say this like laughing, but it's not because I find funny, but because this is it's not great, man. Like, what happened is it's not good, and so it has been destroyed, and we need to figure out a way as a community, like, how do we rise up from this very quickly, right?
y-
Because we need to,
the so my discussion with my cousin a few days ago, he mentioned he mentioned he couldn't get the kanang universal basic income out of his head as a solution to basically this problem. No, do you have any thoughts on that? Just curious.
yeah. I think, look, I'm actually a proponent of universal basic income. Like, I really like the idea. I think it's really good. Um, but I think it will not be enough, because the concept of the money going around, right, is so that we can trade productivity, we can contribute to society, right, in some way, and we all like exchange, and so you meet my needs and I meet your needs, and the money is like sort of the exchange there that helps us account for that. The way universal basic income does is that it just redistributes sort of like money to everybody so that people can still contribute, um, and even in between where they can't contribute for whatever reason, that they will still receive. And it's based on the premise that the majority of society is contributing. However, we've been our ways of contributing, also known as jobs, our work, have been decimated, right? It's been destroyed. So now, if we do universal basic income, which I'm not against, I think we should, but the first problem we're gonna get is, where is the money gonna come from, right? Like, let's do it, and so it's gonna come from the reserves, right? Borrowing money from other countries, or borrowing money from our savings, or getting from taxes of other people, or like the example, like the rich, for example, they get tax, we give it to everybody, but
Or
then
like, what if they just print money? I mean, I'm not smart enough to know the economical
yeah,
implications of that, but
yeah,
you know,
I well, if people just print money, then now there's this what do you call this, that they did that in Zimbabwe. Basically, if you start
uh,
printing money, like, they money loses its value, and so when money loses its value, then that's it destroys the economy even more. But like, going back, like, to universal basic income, I think we should basically help people who have lost their income, right? But we need to figure out a way in this kind of world how we can let people who have lost their jobs still have some sort of a job, like to be able to contribute. We need to repiece together the economy very quickly. We need to repiece the new jobs. We need to invent new jobs very quickly, so that yeah. How do I okay, I have one more. I have one more analogy. So in the economy, right? Everybody's a lot of people are giving, like, right? You give work and then you get money, and then that's how you contribute. In a normal economy, most of the people are contributing, and then there are a few, like, there, I would say, they're dependents. These are our old people, or people who are retired. I wouldn't say dependents, but they're retired, but people who are no longer contributing, but you have contributed in the past, or unable to contribute because of just their condition, right? But generally, the point is, majority are contributing. Today, what happened is that we have disabled, or a large majority of the workforce has been disabled. So very little are contributing, or are able to contribute, and a lot of people have been converted into dependents, right? A lot of people have been converted to dependents. So these are all the people, like, who have lost their jobs. And so now, the people who are contributing, who are still doing work, or, are the ones now going to support all these people, and it's not sustainable, right? I mean, that's what we're doing right now. We're donating, we're giving. We're not.
yeah,
We're pulling from our reserves. People who are donating from other countries, they're pulling in from their reserves or from their current jobs. So basically, the people who still can contribute are contributing to support all these dependents. But this is not sustainable, and it's not like these people who are dependents are like, like, lazy people. No, they're not. Like, they're just really unlucky. Like, malas lang jud kay, like, you're a security guard. The building that you're guarding is locked down, so you also don't have a job, right? And it's not like he or she doesn't want to work or doesn't want to contribute. It's just that there's just no more. And so this is, I think, where entrepreneurs need to come in and really invent jobs. Like, that's what the job of an entrepreneur is, right? I think one of the jobs is to invent jobs, and we need to invent jobs, new jobs, in this kind of reality very quickly, because that's what society needs.
yeah. The issue there is, like, like, even right now, there's a lot of new jobs, quote unquote, new jobs that are created, like, the delivery services right now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure they have a lot more drivers, but that's not nearly enough for
Not
sure.
enough. Yeah. So why we need to invent new jobs quickly, like, and cater to whatever whim of people, right? Like, it's just sad. Like, Netflix doesn't need more people to stream to more people, right? Like, they've leveraged technology in such a way that, you know, like, even Zoom or even the StreamYard thing, they don't need to hire more people to reach more capacity. So that's the beauty supposedly of technology. And now that's what's like, oh man, like, that's a problem, because even like, even if these industries are suddenly getting high demand, it's not like they need the labor workforce to, they can't absorb. The only ones are like Amazon, right? Amazon is in a hiring spree. Amazon is like a delivery company, online shopping, right? They're on a hiring spree because they need people to pack and they need people to deliver, as you said. So those
Well,
kinds of industry.
that's a bigger discussion of like you know, karang technology cutting down on jobs, and
Yeah,
there are
suddenly it got so
definitely
real.
yeah, there are definitely new jobs being created, but there's a lot more old jobs that will be you know, let go for sure, like the like kanang well, this is old, like I remember reading something like in the US, most of the people, the most common job ato is like a truck driver or something. And then, well, I don't know now, but there used to be an advent of like kanang
Driverless trucks or
automated
something.
yeah, yeah, that whole thing coming up, and
Yeah.
then, you know, all of a sudden these people will have no jobs. Well, in a way, this pandemic has given us a fast forwarded version
Yeah.
of that,
It
unfortunately.
makes you think, no? It makes you think about responsible business models, right? Like where you make business decisions that could or will affect people. And I think for a long time, as you said, like we've been sort of like okay about it, right? Like we're okay with producing technology and some people losing jobs because it's only a few at a time, right? Or like it's only a certain group at a time. But suddenly now, like you see a world where so many people have lost their jobs at the same time, and you're like, this is not good. Like I think for me, like this is not the way I want to see the world, right?
Yeah, this is but you know, I honestly can't help but keep thinking about universal basic income when it comes to that. Okay, what happens is, you know, it's just that the chunk of people like universal basic income even helps entrepreneurs in a way, because the problem with entrepreneurship is that you have 100 entrepreneurs and 99 of them fail, one does really well, but then the 99, you don't want them to fail too bad, because if they fail too bad, like they're, you know, they're back to zero, or they leverage so much that they don't have a place to live now or whatever, then you're making the cost of failure really high. And then once you have like universal basic income, all of a sudden your cost of failure is not so bad, you know. It's like I don't know if you know Nassim Taleb. We've been talking about him a bit. Kanang he has this thing like it's not trial and error. It's like if you want to be like trial and small errors, no, and that's what I keep thinking about with that, this universal basic income. It just allows people a lot more freedom to, oh, he's gone, to try new things. Hopefully, we will have Albert back. He may have missed my whole riff on that. Um, Let me help the rice movement while I am at it. Visit the ricemovement.com to learn for ways that you can donate. Let me see if I can put that up onto the cast. Here it is. So that's the Rice Movement's website. Together we will rise. So, according to their site, over 1 million Filipinos have lost their jobs due to the COVID-19 health crisis. Most of them are minimum wage earners, as we have mentioned already. Hey, Bert. Good to have you back,
Hey,
by.
yeah. Somebody called the
um,
phone, I think, and it got disconnected.
oh, really? Yeah, so I thought I'll just share na lang also your website.
Yeah,
You know, one of the things that stood out to me ba on the site. Of course, you guys were able to raise like 500,000 pesos, which is great. But as you mentioned, you know, like a drop in the bucket according to you, 'di ba? But
yeah.
still, this is, you know, amazing.
Yeah.
Any little help, I'm sure,
Yeah.
is appreciated. One of the
Yeah.
things that stood out to me by was you have a donation and expense tracker,
Yeah. we
which
we
is
really we really made it transparent
go
because,
ahead.
dude, we're not like a legit like like organization, right? This is like just friends and family like doing this. And so we want to make sure that people see that we are taking this very seriously, and we're not using the funds like, you don't want to be questioned where people are like, oh, I donated this money and where did it go. So everything about us, from donations to our expenses to like even how much we spend on like the delivery, right? We put it there, all the way to the beneficiaries who get what do you call this, the actual rice. But of course we scrub their personal information. um we put it there just so that we make sure that it's really transparent and people know where the money is going to, and then where the money
Yeah, I
went
think
to.
it's really important, especially for like kanang a charity. Even charities who have a quote unquote name for themselves, they get hit for this or criticized for this all the time by not being very transparent. And then I thought this was a clever way for you guys to share that. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so we're extremely grateful to the people like who donated, and also all the volunteers, because dude, like even like just keeping this tracker up to date is actually a bit of a pain sometimes, because you need to get the data of like who got the deliveries and stuff. But we have a team of volunteers who's just being very diligent at filling that up, so really really grateful for them.
Yeah, there's even like job before COVID. Like you have like kanang little bits of data that you know possibly useful in the future, possibly not. Ba?
Yeah,
Uh,
we do that, bro, because before our target really are the people who lost their jobs, right? Because this is the we can't help everybody, so we had to make a criteria. And that criteria was basically people who had a job before, who's still willing to work but unable to work just because of this was happened. We feel like they are the ones like neglected by government, because they're not poorest of the poor, right? I think government tends to help like the poorest of the poor, which I think they should definitely do that. But I think these are the people who most of the time get missed out. Like, the people who are normal day to day, they have a good, if they have a cell phone, they have data, they can shop once in a while. They live okay lives, but their savings is very small, right? Like one story that I was looking at, and because there when we get the form submitted before, when we had the people submit the information, um we also asked like what's their story. And there's this one story where he said like, oh, I used to be okay, like I had a job, and then my wife is pregnant, about to give birth, and so we had savings, right? He was saving up for his wife's delivery. But then, the pandemic hit, the lockdown was in place, he lost his job, no work, no pay. So where will he get like money to survive day to day? So he started pulling from his wife's delivery fund, right? Where else could he do? What else? So he started pulling from that, and like it's almost gone, right? And then he didn't receive any of the amelioration, because he's not really like qualified per se, or he's not the priority there. And so then we have also the question of like how many days of food you have left, right? So it's like for him it's like a week, right? And that's okay. That's better than nothing. But dude, like a week to a provider, a breadwinner who has no idea where to get to get income. He's willing to work, but there's just nowhere to work at. Like that's paralyzing, man.
oh
Right?
yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. And so that's like that's one of the stories that we got, and fortunately for his family, that's one of the first families we were able to give to. Yeah.
I'm curious by do you have like data as to like the majority of jobs, at least of the people that you guys have helped, but like what's the most common job?
Yeah, I would have to look at the spreadsheet again. But for me, the ones that I can recall anecdotally are like construction workers, jeepney drivers, security guards, and then there are a few like call center agents, but have no longer like what do you call this? No work, no pay. These are not the call center agents that still have work from home arrangements. Um, that's the ones. Those are the ones that stand out to me, right? And there's also like drivers as well, like family drivers or company drivers. Sorry, company drivers. Yeah.
So the yeah, so kanamurag these people who are not necessarily the poorest of the poor.
No, no, no.
They're like they're squarely middle class probably, but
Yeah.
like they've just been affected,
Yeah.
and then they're not the ones you will see on TV begging for food, that sort of thing.
No, no. Dude, I still remember like one of the motivation or like the sub story that my sister keeps on bringing up is like on TV. And this was like so they watched this in the news when my dad was in the hospital. This is now a funny story that we look back to. But basically my dad was in the hospital on the bed, and then they were so bored, my sister and my dad. My dad's fighting for his life, but my sister's bored. And like there was a TV there, and he's like, my sister decides to turn it on, and it's the news. And the news is the lockdown in Manila, and how there's this really long line of taxis, right? Really long line of taxis, like stopped and flagged by authorities because it's a lockdown order, and they're moving, and they're out and about, and they were being like fined, and basically they're caught and fined, and they were now being one driver was being interviewed. I don't know if you saw this, but one driver was being interviewed, a taxi driver, and he was asked like, "Oh sir, alam niyo po ba, like do you know if there's a, like lockdown? Why do you go out?" And he's like, "Well, alam naman po namin na hindi pwede. Pero walang pera eh." And then he starts crying like, yan ang mahirap pag mahirap, ang hirap pag mahirap. And it's like, so my dad there fighting for his life starts crying. My sister's like looks at my dad and starts crying, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, let's just turn this off." So they turn off the TV. I mean, it's good if they were crying about like a movie that was made up, but it's like the news, man. It's like real life, what's happening
Yeah.
outside. And so yeah, my sister like thinks about that every now and then, and that's what we think about. Like it's really hard to be poor right now. Like it sucks, it just sucks for everybody. But when you're poor, it's so much worse.
Yeah, but it's strange times. So
Mm.
the rice movement right now, you guys are still going at it.
Yeah, yeah. So we have a very solid team of volunteers, which we're very grateful for. Lenly is really Lenly Tuhoy. She's part of the company in Symph. Frances and a bunch of other people, like they lead this, right? We have like it's very interesting because we have like groups in marketing and in beneficiary screening. Dude, beneficiary screening is a lot of work. They call and investigate, and because we want to prioritize those who need help truly. So for example, like if they're a family of like 10, and even if one of them still has a job, like we deprioritize or we prioritize others who have like absolutely everybody doesn't have a job or there's no alternative form of income. We just have to be very meticulous with that because we want to make sure that we are helping the ones who need it the most first. And so yeah, we have a beneficiary screening team, we have the core team, we have the logistics in Manila. So they're still going at it. To be honest, like donations have really slowed down. I think it's just it's hard all over. So as I said, like it's very difficult to expect a lot of people to continue giving during this hard time. But we're extremely grateful for those people who have given and are still thinking of giving. Like bless you guys. Like we need to do something about it. But yeah, to answer your question, they're still going at it. In fact, we're opening a new one in Bacolod. We have a Bacolod team already set up. So it's Cebu, Manila, Bacolod. Manila is getting a bit complicated because the lockdown restrictions there, I think, are getting stricter. I think that's what we hear, and so deliveries are getting more difficult. Um, So yeah, that one with Cebu. I think we have a grateful we're grateful for a partnership with Lala Move, and they're doing some deliveries for us in the city. So we're really grateful for that as well. Um,
So how
and
can how, oh, sorry, so keep going, keep going.
yeah, so we're also thinking of doing something in Davao, but the team has not like solidified in Davao yet. So basically, we have Cebu, Manila, and Bacolod.
So how can people donate by?
Yeah, so if you go to the website or even to our Facebook page, there's a list of bank accounts there. And I'll be upfront with you. These are our personal bank accounts. Like we are unable to open a corporate bank account. We don't have the luxury of being able to do that. However, we promise you that everything that you donate is placed in the tracker anyway, so you can see that. So there's options for BPI, there's options for BDO, there's another option for GCash, PayMaya, there's even a option for PayPal as well. So if you send it to any of that, it will appear in the donations tracker. You can also message the Facebook page to just confirm that you've sent something so we can specifically check for that. We usually put just the initials of the sender, right? And depending on the bank, sometimes it will be unknown for a while. You know, sometimes the name takes a long time before it appears. But when it does, we put in the initials, right? And that's really the way to donate right now. Other people have also donated in terms of like logistics and actually doing the deliveries, paying for the gas of their car, you know, as they do the actual deliveries. Some of the deliveries are actually we pay for them because, for example, like it's a driver who has lost his job, so we also pay for that kind of delivery. So there's stuff like that.
So as you mentioned, by well, I'll put the for if you people want to know who or I mean sorry where to how to donate, you can head over to thericemovement.com. I
Yeah,
shared the website earlier. No,
yeah,
there are details there, and then you guys are also on Facebook, the Rice Movement PH, I think. No,
yes, yes,
and uh, but also, but I want to go back a little bit to this discussion of like the bigger picture. I think you had like an idea that you posted on your Facebook page, ng murag,
yeah,
like to come up with some sort of system to feed more people.
yeah.
And
So
what I think that was a few days ago or a few weeks ago. What do you think about it
yeah,
now?
yeah. So well, the idea is called Bigas Padala. Basically, the idea was how do we scale the rice movement from just us doing all the operations? How do we scale it to becoming nationwide, right? And so Bigas Padala was one of those ideas where, okay, why don't we let people buy rice for somebody and send it over to like, you know, to their relatives or to their friends or to their whoever they want to help out in a specific location, right? Because we only have operations in Cebu and Davao, Cebu, Bacolod, and Manila. But what if you want to help somebody in Leyte, in Samar, in Bohol, right? So how can we scale it up there? Like, dude, like running logistics and deliveries is really like it's it's a lot of work. So if we can somehow like make sure if we can set up an operation where we have like partner stores, for example, where they have rice or they have even like, you know, like they sell basic food needs, right? Then somebody can buy specific packages or specific amounts, like okay, one sack of rice or half a sack of rice or even just like 5 kilos of rice, and send it over to somebody, and they just have to have a code and they bring it to the store, and that's what they use to redeem it per se. Like we can sort of like decentralize and scale up the relief operations, so to speak. um that one. Now the main challenge I've really hit on that one is two things. One is leading the project, and second is just people implementing this, because it's like a technology solution in itself. And so one of the things that I've noticed is that the tech industry or people in the tech industry, most of them have not lost their jobs, right? If anything, they're busier now. Like trust me, dude. Like it's so busy now, right? And so the people who we need to volunteer to work on this kind of technology to set this all up, they're they're
They're all
busy.
working.
Yeah, like, and even me, like I'm supposed to lead this thing. My capacity is just not able to do this, right? The rice movement was really fortunate because we have a separate team of volunteers, and that team of volunteers have like sort of solidified and are already at it. And most of the people working and volunteers are not people who are per se like in tech, or like sorry, like they're not like actual like developers or or programmers, right? So they're usually like in social media or marketing, so they're able to, they have some extra time, and when they don't, they still put some time. But I've seen that developers are just so super busy. Like we we agree that we will meet on so and so time, and we barely show up because we're still at work, or our Facebook chat is full of apologies. And so yeah, I mean, like, this is also like a call for either help, but not really for help, but more of call for like, hey guys, this is the idea. If you guys want to do it, like, and you have the time and the bandwidth to do it, like, please go ahead with it. Like, that's an idea, that's not something that we want to keep for ourselves. I put it out there because I want other people to push for it and do it. And I just say it right now, like, I am not actively working towards it. I am unable to. It's just I have too much at work right now. I have also, like, even the rice movement, it's I do very little there actively, to be honest, very little on the day to day. But I barely have any free time to do this. So if you have the time and you are willing and able, and feel free to like run with it, and feel free to own it as yours. Like, you don't need to ask my permission, you don't need to work under me or with me. Like, go ahead, this is for the people, this is for Filipinos. So let's just do whatever you can, and you don't need to ask my permission. You have my support and encouragement.
Yeah, I think it's really important right now to figure out some sort of systemic way to to help people, or to allow people to help themselves. No, kay kana like one of the
Yeah,
things that I keep referring to my conversation previously with my cousin, and one of the things we noted is that the truth is there's a lot of uh charitable people who are willing and generous with their time and their money, no. uh but I don't know if that is enough. No, I mean there's a
it
lot
is
of
not.
people.
It
Oh
is not.
yeah.
I mean, it is necessary
Mm-hmm.
to hold the line today, but it will not be enough for the weeks to come and the months to come, right? We need to, as we rearrange, but it is necessary.
Yeah, so there's definitely some sort of solution that we need to find. No.
Yeah.
um you mentioned Rachel Lenley Tuhoy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, she commented this. Wow, it's like a big comment.
Wow, dude.
It's
Okay.
taking over the whole screen. Uh, no, so plugging Dasig Bisaya in partnership with Gadasig, an
Woohoo.
online songwriting competition was just launched. They're looking for sponsors. 100% of the proceeds go to the Rice Movement. It's
Woohoo,
a
great.
link there it's in the comments. I'm gonna get rid of the thing though because it's taking up the whole screen. But
Sure.
basically, follow that link. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think this was Jude. Jude, he reached out to us for
Gita
this
Mundok.
idea. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was actually afraid to like not, mispronounce his family name. So I said, you all know Jude.
I do that all
Yeah.
the time when I say hi to people. Bye. Musta?
I think good, Carlo, that you said it. I still can't say it, but yeah, Jude, he reached out to us, and I think he was really. I mean, they've not. This is not their first time helping. They've helped, I think, on another organization for frontliners, and I just can't remember it right now. But I know they've been doing some good things, and they got like all these singers to sing and put together like fundraising and help for I think for the frontliners. And I think now they reached out and said, hey, we want to do something also for the rice movement to help the people who've lost their jobs. And so yeah, the thing here is that we need sponsors. They need sponsors for the songwriting competition. And so there's two few things that you can help. One, if you know of anybody, like any company who wants to sponsor, like do send it their way. Also, you can just message the rice movement or um, that one. And then if you also are a singer or participate, if not, then we can all just like and share, do like social media. You just influence the Facebook algorithm so that it comes out more. So that one. Just like and share.
Yeah, bye. Is there so just to recap? I think as mentioned that there will definitely be. I think feeding people will definitely be something that we're gonna need to think about in the future. And then it's good if you want to feed people to help somebody out, but it should also be noted nga, making sure that people who have less than us is actually beneficial to everyone. Just to avoid some sort of anar- anarchy situation. No.
Yeah, people are not trying to be, people are not lazy at this time. Like, everybody's willing to work. It's just that the circumstances have changed, and we need to figure out like how to feed people temporarily, because that is like the immediate need. And that's what the government has been doing, and trying to do, but it's trying to do something at the scale that it has never done before. So that's why we need to step in as, private individuals. We need to step in, and a lot of people have stepped in and are doing. But frankly, like, it is not going to be enough, right? And the next step really here, together with government, and even, even on our own, initiative privately, we need to invent new jobs. We need to create new spaces, because a lot of create new spaces for opportunity to work for all these people who have lost their jobs. Because a lot of them, when the quarantine comes, goes away, a lot of them are won't have jobs to return to, right? Like, it's not like
Yeah,
suddenly, when the quarantine ends, like, dude, are you gonna go get a massage? Like, it's not on your top top list anymore, right? Like, so a lot of the industries, a lot of the industries around the world are just, they're not coming back anytime soon.
yeah.
Dining in restaurants, it's not
I
gonna
think
come back
that
anytime soon.
I think that should be said. Like, it's not just when we say government, so automatically you think Philippines, but actually this is literally the world. This is
Yeah,
something that every country in the world has to deal with to some degree. Like even the US,
yeah,
probably the richest country in the world, like they have people who do not want to stop working. They're literally on the streets,
yeah,
which is kind of strange to see. But
yeah.
but
Because we don't know how to respond to this as a society. Like, this is the sort of like this generation. It's our first time.
yeah. So again, so visit the Rice Movement. They're on Facebook or the ricemovement.com also for the website. And Albert, is there anything you want to add by?
Well, so two things. One is I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the people who have supported, both in donors or being volunteering to be part of the rice movement. That one, I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for all the people who have helped in some way or form. The society, whether it's via the rice movement or via their own initiative. Like, I have friends who have done this. I have people who I don't know, companies and individuals who are trying to help, and I just want to say thank you for that. And we need that, and we need more of that around here. And to everybody else, I just want to encourage, right? I want to encourage that we are going, like, when we think about this a decade from now, like, in history, and because, a lot of us, there will be people who will survive. I hope I am one of them. I hope all of us here will be one of those, right? And since we're still at the beginning part of this crisis, the way I see it, like, um there's still a huge story to be told here, right? And I hope that we can turn it into a story of how we figured out how to take care of the people who lost everything, right? Because there are already people who lost everything, and how we turn it around, not just by giving them food to eat today and for the weeks, for a few weeks, because that's important. Even that's really important. But not only that, but how we quickly turned around the society and made sure that the people who lost their jobs had new ones, new jobs that they could go into and contribute again. How and we evolved very quickly to address that. And I hope we really can figure out. And to those who have ideas, like, we need you guys to talk about those ideas, and so that those who don't have ideas but have time, can 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 spend that time in executing those ideas. Like we need that. We're actually very fortunate that this pandemic happened during a time of extreme or hyper connectedness, right? Even though we are all at home or quarantined, we are still very much connected to each other. I mean, we could do this video thing, right? And thousands, I don't know how many people are, or how many people are tuning in, or now or later, right? This is very good, and let's not waste that opportunity, right? Let's make sure that we take advantage and leverage these things so that we can really support each other and help the people. So yeah, that's, if in summary, basically, thank you for those helping, and for those for everybody else as well, and to all of us, like, we need to do more.
All right, thanks. Bye. Some
Thanks,
sort of
Carlo.
economist or mathematician or somebody really smart has to come up with this universal basic income thing.
Yeah, dude, it's been a long time, it's been said, and I think it's a good, today I would say, like, it's a good opportunity for change. A lot of people are are willing to change today, just because everything's been upset and changed. So a lot of people are open to change. So if we do this universal basic income today, I don't think a lot of people will push it back, right? I think it may be something that's easier to make happen today than it was like a few years back.
Yeah, I wonder if somebody in the world is legitimately thinking about it. Not like me, bang. I'm more just sprouting it out as an idea. Like legitimately, like
Yeah,
really thinking about this.
I think there are countries, or I would say, sorry, states maybe, like city states or something, or like at the scale of a city. I think there are parts of the world that I know have been doing that for quite some time now, either as a full on policy, but I think majority are as experiments.
Well, would you know? Just curious.
Dude, I don't recall exactly where right now, but I'm pretty sure if you Google it, like, it'll come up. Like, there are areas in the world where they're doing this as experiments.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Bye. I hope this helped you out somehow.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
All right. I'm gonna end it.
All right. Thanks, guys,
Thank you.
as well.
Bye. Good to see you. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.